Religion should play no role in deciding who to favor or vote for.
But in reality, it does.
The American Religious Town Hall meeting is now in session.
Welcome, friends, to the American Religious Town Hall meeting, where the discussion of religious, political, and social issues is meant to promote the cause of religious freedom and to help us better understand each other. And now, here's your host and moderator, Pastor Jerry Lutz.
Thank you, Mark, and I'm so very glad that you all have joined us to be here today with our program and the subject we're going to be discussing today. I think you're going to find this very interesting. We've got a great panel assembled here, and I would like for you to meet them. Let's begin with the gentleman to my right.
I'm Bishop Michael Olson, and I am the Bishop of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Fort Worth, Texas.
I'm Rabbi Jordan Offsire. I am a retired rabbi living in Palm Springs, California, and continuing to do the things that I am able to do out of choice.
I'm Tom Plumley. I'm the senior minister of First Christian Church in Fort Worth, Texas. Our congregation is a part of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ.
My name is Bert Beach. I'm a minister of the Seventh-day Adventist Church and worked for many decades in Europe for the church and at the world headquarters of some 20 years.
My name is John Peterson. I am an Episcopal priest and a canonically resident of the Diocese of Washington.
And my name is Mel Robeck. I'm professor of church history and ecumenics at Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena, and I'm an ordained minister with the Assemblies of God.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. And Rabbi Offsire, thank you for choosing to be with us here today. How many choices have you been making through the years? How many years have you chosen to be on the town hall? It's been quite some time.
Yes, it's just around 38 or 40.
Wow, that is amazing. We're glad that you're still choosing to be with us. And I know that many others are as well, as the rest of the panelists here today. But glad to have you and the rest here today. We're going to be having a great discussion. This, I think, is an important one, especially in this season. So let's get right to it. When we advocate constitutional religious liberty rights, we usually tend to refer to the two religious liberty clauses of the First Amendment to the Constitution. Now, of course, it is a correct approach to emphasize the dual importance of both free exercise and non-establishment of any specific religion or religion in general. But in the very Constitution itself, in Article 6, there is a significant religious liberty protection, which is often neglected and at times misunderstood. It is stated that, quote, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification, close quote, to hold any federal office. Now, this ran directly counter to the past legal situation in the various colonies where it was required, for example, in Pennsylvania, to hold office, you had to believe in one God, the Creator and Governor of the universe, and acknowledge the scriptures of the Old and New Testament. That's a quote. Now, in Delaware, you had to profess faith in the Trinity, and in New Hampshire, elected leaders had to be of the Protestant religion. Article 6 undermines the concept of the United States being legally and constitutionally a Christian nation. Thus, the participation of all citizens, including those of no religion, in political affairs is clearly permitted and not prohibited. Now, here are some questions I'd like for our panelists to consider today. First of all, does Article 6 of the Constitution prohibit individuals from voting for religious reasons against a political candidate, including what may appear to be religious prejudice? Second question, is it proper to claim that the U.S. is a Christian nation, both demographically and in law? And the third question, Does the no religious test refer to no government law/test being required to hold office, but does not prohibit individual voters from being influenced by religious convictions or even prejudice? Those are our questions. That is our topic today. Let's go back to those who began the program, those who made the opening remarks. For that, we go back to Rabbi Ofsire. And again, we're glad you're here today. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you think that religion should not be a part of this voting process of deciding?
Well, first, I need to clarify what I mean by religion and what aspects of religion I am thinking about in answer to the question. But first of all, I'd like to respond to one of your questions to us. Is it proper to claim that the United States is a Christian nation, both demographically and in law? And I would say that the Constitution is clear. It surely is not. It is a democratic nation with people representing all faiths virtually and religious perspectives. And what our concern today is to appreciate the uniquenesses and the legitimacy of each of those religious traditions. That seems to me to be a central principle for us today. And I would want to continue and to say, and yet there are aspects of religion that I think are crucial and essential, and they are the moral and ethical dimensions. The universal dimensions of our religious faiths should give us the context out of which and through which we approach our responsibility as citizens to vote. And I just might say parenthetically, the percentage of people who do vote is abysmally small in the United States, as opposed to Australia and so forth. There are those who suggest that that voting should be mandatory, and that is, I think, a very interesting concept. But we won't go any further there. And then let me conclude with the dimension to which I refer. And that dimension is not the universal aspects of religion and religiosity, but rather the narrowly constructed one, the ritual dimension, the parochial expressions of faith that are distinctive to some religions and not to others. Those should not influence us. But the underlying universality of love thy neighbor and thyself, etc., should be part of our conscience as we enter the voting booth.
All right, well, thank you very much for that perspective. Now let's go back to John Peterson. Canon Peterson, welcome to the program. You also made an opening comment.
Yes, I want to first off make a comment about the moderator's statement. I think it was excellent, and it certainly made me think about the subject in an entirely different way, looking at Article 6 in relationship to what the colonies had said, and the braveness of the founding fathers and mothers to enable Article 6 to actually be in the Constitution, considering what was happening in the colonies in relationship to the particularity of the religious traditions in that particular place. Therefore, I want to say this is an extremely interesting and timely program that we have today. I am old enough to remember the times when Article 6 of the Constitution was greatly debated. I'm sure you're all shocked to hear that statement, that no religious test should be required as a qualification. First was, of course, when JFK in the 60s was running for President of the United States as the first Roman Catholic. And the second was with Mitt Romney, a Mormon, who was running for president in 2008 as well as in 2012. But there's now actually a third as well, and that is Bernie Sanders, who was just a candidate for the Democratic Party, who ran this year as a nominee as a Jew. Surprisingly, the fact that Bernie was a Jew was hardly ever mentioned in the campaign, much in contrast to both Kennedy as well as Romney. I suspect had Sanders as a Jew run in 2000 2008 or even as back as 1961, there would have been far more scrutiny on Sanders and his religion than there was this year. Just a guess on my part. Although the words of the Constitution of Article 6 were clear back in 1960 and in 61, as well as they are today in 2016, there was a real fear back in the 60s with Kennedy that the Pope would have great influence on Kennedy. And the same was being said in relationship to Romney when he was running, that the Mormon Church would have an enormous influence. I just want to make one more comment before others can comment. Kennedy, of course, had to take a very strong stand, and actually in Houston, he made a statement on September 12th in 1960, when he made it clear that I am not a Catholic candidate for president. I am the Democratic Party's candidate for president who happens to be a Catholic.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Reverend Plumley, right next to you, Canon Peterson. Reverend Plumley, glad that you're here today. What is your position on this matter?
Thank
How
you.
does religion influence voting? Should
Well-
it or should it not?
Well, I'll tell you, in the election that was just over in November, I walked into the voting booth thinking about my faith and thinking about how its impact should move me one way or another. And I am sure that lots of my neighbors did as well and voted opposite of me. One of the things that bothers me about the whole notion of religion in politics, which is something that's been a part of my professional life, the study of that's been a part of my professional life ever since I was in college. I wonder how many times, rather than my religion affecting our political opinions, we bend our religion almost to the point of it not being recognizable. We bend our religion to fit our previously conceived secular and political points of view, and I think that happens just a lot.
All right, thank you very much. Let's come down the table. Dr. Robeck, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, as I was reflecting on the opening statement, it's interesting to me that the U.S. was probably set up. It couldn't have been set up probably prior to the Protestant Reformation in the way that it was set up. I mean, if you stop and think about how religion showed up in the U.S., certainly up in New England, you had the Puritans, Reform kinds of people. New Hampshire, you had Baptists, Quakers in Pennsylvania, etc. So you have a variety already. They're all Christian in one sense or another. Not all of them agreed on the nature of the Trinity. There are some that were more Trinitarian than others. There were deists among them that simply talked about this all-encompassing God. But it's also the case that Florida, the whole Pacific Southwest was Roman Catholic, and it wasn't long before the whole Pacific Northwest was Russian Orthodox. So it's a real mix, and I think if we were going to have unity out of many, we have one. It is the case that we had to have a pluralistic constitution, and I think that Article 6 is a very important article. That no religion in this particular segment of it, no religion should be a test for a person running for federal position. That being said, I do think that all of us are impacted by the religion of our faith, and I don't see how that's not possible to influence the way we vote. I mean, Tom, you talk about going into the voting booth thinking about what your church would say. I do the same kind of thing. I mean, when I look at the various things that I have to vote on in California, we have tons of these things. And I have to say, well, what is good for the most people? What is good for the common good? You know, those kinds of things are really important to me. How would God judge me as I think about these kinds of things? Those are really important questions, and I wouldn't want to take that away. But I do think that the religious test should not be applied to the candidates, and I do have a real problem when there's, especially through polling, well, all evangelicals are going to vote this way, or should vote this way. I'm sorry, I can't buy that.
All right, thank you very much. Next is Dr. Beach. Dr. Beach, your position, please.
Yes, well, I think those that wrote the Constitution and then the amendments and so forth, I think were outstanding people and did a great job, considering the times in which they lived. And I think we should pay attention to this statement in our Constitution that legally there is no requirement, really, for a person to have a religion or not a religion, whatever. But I don't think the statement in the Constitution makes it illegal for a person to be following something from his religion that may be opposed to the candidate's religion that the candidate has. The individual voter can vote for whoever he wants. The Constitution allows that. Maybe he's stupid, maybe he's influenced by wrong prejudices, but the individual has the full right to vote for whoever he wants. But the candidate has also the full right to have whatever religion he wants, and it's not illegal to have the wrong religion because that doesn't exist in the United States.
All right. Thank you very much. Now let's come over to Bishop Olson. Welcome to the program. Your position on the matter, please.
I think this is a question from the very start of the American experiment that really hinges on a very important distinction, and that is religion as understood in values, philosophical values, and theological points, as opposed to the sociological aspects of it. And I think that really came home with Kennedy, in the sense where Kennedy's speech, the tenor he gave is like, look, sociologically, I'm a Catholic, but don't worry about any of the theological values. I've compartmentalized those a long time ago, all right? And so, you know, I'm a Catholic, but not a scary Catholic. I'm not going to take it too seriously, all right? In other words, to your point, I've secularized enough where a sense of like, I'll fit in to the ruling class. Now, theologically, philosophically, that's been a problem, pastorally as well, because it hinges upon Catholic politicians to start talking theology, all right, and not handle the political matters themselves as well, or saying, I don't take this theological stance, or I dissent from this theological stance. Well, now you're in the pastoral ballpark, not in the political ballpark, all right? And so then the conflict arises that way. That's beyond just simply the establishment of a religion. When most people who come in, and certainly the Catholic experience in America has been that of the immigrant, all right, not that of the establishment or ruling class, which prompted the American experiment anyway, whether it was the Church of England or the Church of Rome.
All right, thank you very much. There is a conundrum, isn't there? And then also the group that is being, well, shall we say, compromised also has questions then, and that jeopardizes the person being elected. So there's that push-me, pull-me relationship. Reverend Plumley.
You know, as I think about the conversations we hear about what is who is eligible for what and who's running for what or who's being nominated for what, it does occur to me that in regard to Article 6, the place where we come closest to violating Article 6 is in our vetting of and conversations about those who've been nominated for the Supreme Court. In those conversations, the religion of the person is almost always mentioned. Of course, it's a smaller group of people, just the U.S. Senate, that's got to consent to the president's nomination. But I'm not sure that makes any difference. Article 6 is Article 6. But it is interesting how that particular, those 9 positions we do weigh religious approaches of the faith of nominees and talk about that a whole lot more than we do, the 2 or 3 presidential candidates that you were able to mention.
We just have a few seconds left. Rabbi Officer, you had your hand up for a moment.
Yeah, I'd like to go back.
Seconds.
Yes, go back to what I had mentioned before, and that is to distinguish here as clearly as possible between the ritual dimensions, between the, as I had said, parochial dimensions of our faith, and the underlying universal beliefs that we have in God, and those considerations are really very important.
All right, thank you very much. That's all the time we have for this part of our program. There is an important announcement I'd like for you to hear. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Thank you, Pastor Lutz. We hope you are enjoying today's program. If you would like to learn more about the American Religious Town Hall, please visit our website at americanreligious.org. That's americanreligious.org. There you can read about the mission and history of the program, learn about the Town Hall estates, and view past programs by clicking the appropriate menu buttons. Each week, Pastor Lutz looks forward to receiving your letters. You may write to him at the address shown on your screen. Send your letters to Pastor Jerry Lutz, American Religious Town Hall Meeting, P.O. Box 180118, Dallas, Texas 75218. That's Pastor Jerry Lutz, American Religious Town Hall Meeting, P.O. Box 180118, Dallas, Texas 75218. Thank you for writing, and thank you for watching. And now, back to you, Pastor Lutz, and today's closing statements.
I, too, want to thank you for watching today. I'm sure you're glad you've tuned in. These are the kinds of subjects we deal with every week, and we do appreciate your suggestions for topics, so please do drop us a line as Mark has suggested. Now let's go to our summations. For that, we begin with Bishop Olson.
Religion influences our understanding of the world. It influences our philosophical understanding of what a society should be, our theological understanding of humanity's relationship with God and within each and among each other. The political aspects of religion must be formed by those values as a participant in a greater society, but not in the formal establishment of political control and domination by the institutional aspects of religion.
All right, thank you very much, Bishop. Now, Reverend Plumley.
Thank you. I'd simply like to go back to the decision-making process of the voter in the voting booth and simply say that religious values should be and indeed are quite often a part of the decision-making process of voters. And my concern is just that they be led by the overarching power of their religion and not get caught up in one little aspect of it.
All right, thank you very much. Canon Peterson, your summation now, please.
Yes, thank you. Indeed, I think that, well, I believe that religion should play no role in deciding. In reality, it does, for exactly the reasons that Tom was speaking about. I mean, anytime a Roman Catholic speaks in relationship to example of pro-life or pro-choice, that becomes a controversy within the theological structures of the church. And how many candidates have we heard running for office who are Catholic who try to walk gingerly around that subject of pro-choice or pro-life? And other churches have other, evangelicals have certainly political agendas, et cetera, that they have to walk around very gently. So I think that, yes, indeed, but in reality, religion does play an extremely important role as we pull this slot for the our election.
Thank you, Canon Peterson. Now, Dr. Robeck, your summation.
Yes. Earlier, I said that New Hampshire was Baptist. It was Rhode Island, and I knew better than that, but I wasn't thinking clearly. But I would say that when I think about going into the voting booth, I certainly carry my faith with me, and I look for people who will carry out a moral and ethical position consistent with, what would be good for the larger society. But I also look for candidates who are consistent in their faith statement. Yes, I am this or I am that. I want them to be consistent living that out, because then I think it has a lot to do with the integrity of that candidate. Can I trust that candidate to be who I think I'm voting for? I think that's really important. And so I think religion plays a part not only in the way I vote for myself, but I think it's about the candidate. Not that they have to have any particular religion, and I don't think in my lifetime I have ever voted for a candidate on the basis of what religion they had.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Dr. Beach.
Yes, I think we've had a very interesting discussion. I think the constitutional legal basis is very good for freedom, and so for not having religion being required for holding office and so forth. However, it also gives freedom to the electorate, hopefully wise and conscientiously, to vote for the candidate that he or she considers to be the best, whether that person has the religion that you like or don't like.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Rabbi Ofsire.
Thank you. We have been moving back and forth, it seems to me, and this is a summary, needs to be very brief, between the candidate for whom we vote and our own predilections and perspectives when we enter the voting booth. We surely don't want a candidate who has no humanity, and humanity as represented in some faith is essential, it seems to me. And to conclude with each of us, the individual, I've always wanted to distinguish. People would say, well, how do you have religion in the school? Well, religion should not be taught in public schools, but where else would a child learn the moral and ethical dimensions of life? And these ethical and moral dimensions of life should be the impetus and the basis for our choice in the election booth.
Thank you. Thank you for the summaries and for the discussion today. And again, we're very glad you've joined us. We hope that you'll tune in again really soon. And then also look at the archived programs that are there on our internet website. For now, the Charter of the American Religious Town Hall provides that Roman Catholics, Protestants, Jews, educators, and others may appear on this program and can declare their beliefs without hesitancy. And the rest of the members of the panel will uphold and guarantee that American right to all who will appear, irrespective of race or creed, so that the rest of the world can see that here in America we believe in civil and religious freedom, not only in theory, but in reality. So now, friends, until next week at the same time and over this very same channel, the American Religious Town Hall meeting stands adjourned. And may the God of all of us bless all of you.